Sinjuri nsemmilkom nilqakom għal Flusek. Illum ser nibdew b'intervista virtuali mal-kap eżekuttiv tal-finanzi tal-Bank of Valletta l-ġdida Izabela Banas sabiex niddiskutu r-riżultati għall-ewwel 6 xhur tas-sena li għadu kif ħabbar il-bank. Fit-tieni parti tal-programm mbagħad ser nintaqgħu ma' mistieden regolari tagħna Ġeżmin Mitti sabiex nitkellmu dwar l-importanza tal-isma f'portafoll. Għalhekk ħanibdew billi nippruvaw nagħmlu kuntatt virtuali ma' Izabela Banas. Izabela, welcome to Flusek.
Hi, good to see you. Good to meet you, first of all. I'm happy to be here.
Nice meeting you too. First of all, congratulations on your fairly new role as Chief Financial Officer of Bank of Valletta.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I was telling the viewers in Maltese that basically I'm doing this interview so that we get to discuss the financial results of Bank of Valletta, which the bank has just announced for the first 6 months of the year. In fact, the group has just announced a profit before tax of 25.9 million for the first half of the year, compared to 13.8 million for the comparative period in 2020. What led to the increase in profits?
Sure. So just at a headline level, first of all, we've had a pretty encouraging set of results for the first half. Both interest and income and non-interest income were up 1.5% and 11.5% respectively versus the prior year, comparing the same periods. Operating expenses were down 2.6%, and we had some pretty strong profits coming from our associates. So I'll give you the same answer as last time when you spoke with Rick, our CEO. Predominantly COVID. COVID has led us to an improved performance this year versus last year. Due to some of the easing of the restrictions on traveling, we've had some encouraging numbers coming through better travel, fewer traveling restrictions, and of course the successful vaccination program here in Malta has helped. But also we're seeing some early benefits coming from our strategy. We've kicked off our strategy at the end of 2020, and we already have quite a bit of a momentum coming through for the first half, and that is starting to contribute to our overall performance as well. Okay. If I may just add a couple of things, we've had a couple of specific things that are already impacting our results as well. As I mentioned, the strategy, we have spent about 17.1 million on that in the first half, so that is included in that set of results. And as you can probably imagine, we maintain our cautious stance on provisions, so we're seeing that come through a little bit as well in that first half.
So income in general was up as well in the first 6 months of 2021 when compared to last year. But the main increase was from net commissions and trading income. How was this achieved and which areas contributed most?
So we've in our commissions, we had very, very good kind of strong performance there in the first half. In fact, it was up almost 9% when you compare the same period of last year. A little bit again linked to what we're seeing in COVID, impacting so fewer COVID restrictions, helping us on our retail and business cards business. Payments on transaction volumes are up versus the same time of last year. Still, it's worth noting that it is below 2019 levels. Furthermore, another part of our business, the bank insurance business, is performing far better than even prior year, which is helping us in this particular space. You probably have heard us talk about that we're shifting our transactional business from over-the-counter to more digital means. That's just a more efficient and effective way of doing business with our clients, and that's also contributing to the top line. So that's on the commissions line. The trading part, we're still below on the FX part of it. We're still below 19 volumes, but there we've had some what's included in that particular income line are some of the gains we've had on fair value of some of the equity that we're holding, which has contributed quite a lot this particular half.
Okay. Regarding operating expenses, they were slightly down, but the bank transformation and strategy cost has shot up to 17 million. Can you explain this increase?
Sure. So on operating expenses, I think it's a bit of a good story. We try to make sure that we control our expenses as the uncertainty around the income continues. So we need to be able to control our costs best we can going forward. So those were down about 3% year over year. Mainly due to professional services. It's important to note we've also provided about 1 million euros due to some of the recent fraud scams that our clients have been targeted with. So we've included that in our operating expenses already. So shifting focus to the strategic investments, which was about, as you just said, about 17 million euros in the first half. And that's been mainly the investment in the BOV 2023 strategy. We've talked quite a bit about in the past about streamlining our processes. We need to make them slicker. We need to make them leaner and simpler. Looking at our front to back processes, with our customer at the heart of all of it. So. A lot of investment is going into that. Coupled with that is, of course, the investment in new technology. So digital platforms, a new one, in fact, just went live on investment products in order to service our clients more efficiently in that space. So, and specifically around investments, that should also help us contribute into the top line going into the second half. So that's where the bulk of that investment has gone through. Furthermore, we're restructuring the way we are organizing ourselves in order to support our clients. So we've invested into reskilling our staff, focusing a lot more, making sure we have a lot more relationship managers supporting our clients. So quite a bit of that investment went into that space. Underpinning all of that it's quite important to mention. We continue to have some components of the de-risking program. So that's not a big element of that, but that continues to be there as we make sure that the framework, the control framework, the risk framework underpins everything that we do going forward.
With regards to the bank actually registered a reverse impairment of 3 million euros. Can you explain what this relates to and what led to this reversal?
Sure. So just at a headline level, so we've recorded a 3 million euro net release, albeit a pretty significant changes across the various component parts. So let me walk you through those just to explain a little bit better. So on the COVID-19 line, which we specifically call out within our impairments, we've actually added an additional 5.4 million euros charge in that area. As there's still quite a lot of uncertainty there, so the expected credit losses linked to the clients or the sectors materially impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. We remain cautious around that. So we want to make sure that we're evaluating that quite regularly and reflect that in our financials. Offsetting a little bit of that in that specific line, though, I mean, we've had we've taken into consideration the recent economic forecast published by the Central Bank of Malta, which has quite a positive look going forward versus the one that we've seen in December 2020. So it's a net impact of the 5.4 charge, which didn't take into consideration some of the positive outlook that we've seen. The next big component of that impairment charge is 8.3 million euros that we've added for our long outstanding non-performing loans. That was a big item for us in 2020. We continue to have a very prudent view on that as just to make sure we reflect the current economic circumstances, and also we're guided by the regulatory requirements in that particular space. Those were the two big ones. I think one thing worth mentioning to offset those charges is because we focused quite a lot on recovering our previously written off debt, we've thrown a lot of resources on it. So in the first half, we've actually recovered about 8.7 million euros in that area. So overall, it's a prudent 3 million release for the first half, but we continually watch that space, as you can imagine.
Izabela, we don't have much time, but I just wanted to ask you as a last question about the dividend. No interim dividend was paid to shareholders. What led to the decision by the board, this particular decision?
Yes, of course, and there'll be no surprise here as well. So after reviewing the current environment, which continues to be, as I said, uncertain, difficult, and with many risks still unresolved due to the pandemic, we're registering some good and decent results with some more opportunities hopefully coming through. However, when the board looked at the environment, and the fact that we continue to invest in our future, we still have a pretty significant litigation that remains unresolved for the moment. All of the above really require capital. So taking all of that into consideration, the board resolved for the moment that it's premature to return to a stable dividend distribution. However, we continue to review that. The board continues to review that. Certainly at year-end, that will be the case. As our 2021 results crystallize, and we'll have a better idea of the future risks. And of course, we'll be looking what our regulators tell us, and we'll be in a much better position to then comment what comes next when it comes to the dividend distribution for the year.
Thank you so much, Izabela, for the information you gave us and for being with us today. I augur you and the Bank of Valletta continued success in the future and hope to see you again on Flusek.
Thank you very much. Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Ser namlu waqfa qasira ta' ftit minuti għal reklami, ibqgħu magħna.